students to this session in which we are going to discuss the neoclassical theory of management. As discussed in the previous class, the classical theory focuses more on the physical component of production. How by improving the physical component we can increase the productivity in the organization. After classical theory during 1930s, neoclassical theory was formulated. Now this theory is the extended version of the classical theory where behavioral sciences also are part of management. When we talk of behavioral science, we mean the behavior of the human beings, where in the classical approach, human resource were ignored. In this approach, greater emphasis to human resource is also given instead of the physical resource. So, then this theory, organization is assumed to be a social system and the performance of the organization is affected by the human factor. When we discuss the classical approach, it is discussed in two categories: human relation approach and the behavioral science approach. The first approach, human relation approach, recognizes that employees are essentially social beings and are not merely money producing thing. This approach was mainly, or the major contributor to this approach was George Elton Mayo. Now, George Elton Mayo was a famous psychologist and he gave this approach where he said that efficiency and work harmony could be increased in an organization by focusing on human relation approach. So Elton Mayo, who is also known as father of human relation movement, he conducted famous Hawthorne experiments which proved to be a landmark in the evolution of the management thought. Now, when we talk about Elton Mayo, these experiments, Hawthorne experiments, they were conducted in Western Electrical Company at Hawthorne's plant in USA during 1927 to 1932 with his associates. Now, these experiments were conducted in two stages, and the name of these experiments were based on the type of experiments being conducted. Now, the first experiment which he conducted was illuminating experiment. In this experiment, Elton Mayo wanted to find out the relationship between intensity of illumination and production. That is, he wanted to find out if the working condition like lighting is improved, will it increase the productivity or not? So, by increasing the various intensities, by improving the lighting in the organization, in the experiment, he found that production was increased. And in this experiment, when these lightnings were reduced, he found the production did not fall. That means by giving these working condition or by improving the working condition like lighting in this particular experiment, the productivity was increased, and when it was when the intensity of the lighting, or let's say when this improvement in working condition was withdrawn, then the impact on productivity was not there. That means he proved that it is not only the working environment, but there is something else in the organization which affects the productivity. So this reinforced the concept of Elton Mayo, that informal social relationship are an important part in the working of the organization. So after the results of the illuminating experiments, the second experiment which was conducted was relay assembly test and room experiment. Now in this experiment, what Mayo did was that he changed the job conditions in a group activity. So he found that when the job conditions were improved, small homogeneous working groups were formulated, and new improvements like shorter working hours, proper rest, improved physical condition, and a friendly supervisor. There was a free social interaction in such a way that there was improvement in the working condition, and these improvements led to the productivity and morale of the employees. Now, when these improved working conditions were withdrawn in the same experiment, it was found that uh, these social, let's say, psychological factors, uh, they the improvement in working conditions, they were also, when these working conditions were improved working conditions were withdrawn, there was not much improvement in the productivity of the employees. So it was observed from these experiments that the relationship between improved working conditions, and productivity do not matter much. There is another important factor like your socio psychological factors, feeling of being important in the organization, in the group, recognition, participation, informal work groups, non direct, let's say, supervision of employees, etc. They were key to the productivity in the organization. The third type of experiment which was conducted by Elton Mayo during this period was mass interviewing program. In this experiments, about 20,000 employees were interviewed to know their perception and orientation on the working life of the organization. Again, the results confirm that the importance of informal relationship, social and psychological needs, and their impact on the behavior of the organization. Again, fourth set of experiments were conducted, which were known as bank wiring observation room experiment. Now, in this experiment, a group of 14 workers was observed with regard to their work, and Mayo. So, this fourth experiment of bank wiring observation observed with regard to the work behavior. The observation here in this experiment relieved that the informal production norms which are set by the workers who are working in the organization, and the existence of informal relationship in the group. That means that the workers set up their own norms, their own set of standards, and that have an impact in the small group in the organization. So, the relationship between economic incentive and production, which are related to the small group, have an important impact in the organization. So, the outcomes of these experiments prove that production was not very much related to the condition of work, as it was associated with the emotional factors, with the human needs. So, in nutshell, we can conclude that the features, by just listing the features of the Elton Mayo relationship. Now he says that manager gets the work done through people, so he needs to understand the human behavior in all respect, particularly in context of work group and organization. The manager must study the interpersonal relation among the people at work. What are their relationships with each other? The large scale production and higher motivation can be achieved through these good, improved human relation in the organization, where achievement, recognition, motivation, leadership, these relations give an important impact on the productivity. Lastly, we can conclude that Elton Mayo human relations study draws various concepts and principles of various behavioral sciences like sociology and psychology. So we can say that this approach, this human relation approach, was an important step in the management thought, which laid stress on the human as an important factor of management. But again, it has an limitation that it pays stress only to, it focuses on the human factor and remaining factors are ignored. Now, the second approach of the neoclassical is the behavioral science approach. Now, in the behavioral science approach, when we talk about the behavioral science, we are talking about that management must focus on the psychological, sociological factors like what are the attitudes, what are the motivation, what are the group dynamics that influence the employees' performance. Here, this approach of management, which gives special understanding to the individual and their interpersonal relationship uh, among these individuals. Now, the various approaches and the various people who have important psychologists and sociologists who have contributed to this approach are Abraham Maslow's, Mac Deckers, Frederick Herzberg, Kurt Lewin, Davis, and many other. But in today's lecture, we'll study a brief introduction to the various approaches of the behavioral science, where we start with the first one, that is the Abraham Maslow's need hierarchy. Now, Abraham Maslow, he has given a need hierarchy, and he says that the needs of the human beings are varied, and uh, a manager must focus on the needs, and by focusing on the need, he can motivate the employees in the organization. As we see in the lower end of the uh, pyramid, we have the physiological needs, which means your need for food, clothing, shelter. Then we have the safety need of your protection. We have the love and the belonging need, and we move up the parameter, up the pyramid, and then we have the esteem need. These are the deficiency needs which an employee wants, and when we as a management provide these or focuses on these needs, they motivate the employees. So employee motivation decreases as the needs are met. So let's say once the love and belonging need are being met, then this will not act as a motivator. You need to move to the upper level need of esteem needs. And last, your motivation increases as these needs are met. And the last is your basic growth need, human being need of your self actualization, when you want to do what your inner self want, and that is the actual need which motivates the employees to give their best in the organization. Another theory under this behavioral science approach is given by Frederick Herzberg, and he said that he says that there are two factors which motivates the employees. One is the job factor, job dissatisfier, or the hygiene factors. Now, these hygiene factors are like your working condition, co-workers relation, policies, rules, supervisor quality, basic wage. Now, these are the hygiene factors which are important when they are there in the organization. They help in increasing the productivity, but these improving the hygiene factor, if we decrease them, which will lead to job satisfaction, they are to be there in the organization. And their job satisfier are the motivating factors. When we improve the motivating factors, this will increase the job satisfaction in the organization. Now, these motivating factors are like achievement, recognition, responsibility, work life advancement, and personal growth. So, Herzberg said that along with the motivators, the maintenance factors, that we not only need the motivating factor, but the hygiene factors are also to be there in the organization. If they are not there in the organization, then there would be war, it would lead to dissatisfaction in the organization. So Herzberg has said that along with satisfying factor, job satisfying factors, job dissatisfaction should also be there, otherwise they would have a negative impact in the organization. Another theory which is given under the behavioral science is McGregor's theory X and Y. Now, McGregor has said that workers are of two types, and he says there are type 1 workers and type X workers and type Y workers. So he says there are one set of workers who dislike work, they find it boring, they don't want to do. Workers are inherently lazy, they want direction, they should be forced, they should be told what is to be done, and their needs are to be directed. We need to tell them. They avoid responsibility, and they are motivated by fear, lack of money, lack of job, and there is little creativity except just when they are just working around the rules. So McGregor says that this is the first category of workers, and he called them theory X. And then the theory Y says there is a second category of workers who want to work, for the organization. What their attitude is that yes, we enjoy work, we have an interest, we need to work. They don't need direction, they work on their own. They have the accepted targets and they know what they want to do. They thrive on responsibility, they are made responsible, they feel responsible to the organization, and they are motivated by the desire to achieve the best for the organization and for themselves, and thus contributing to the development of each other. They are very creative when they are given when they are given the opportunity and they are given the recognition. So McGregor says that these two types of workers, you need to study the behavioral science and understand which category of workers we are dealing with. Not only these three important, there is another contribution by Likeret, and he has defined the four systems of management, and he says that leadership style or the leadership management can be of different categories, and the first one is the exploitative of the authoritative category of management, where the leader imposes his decision. He tells them what to do, how to be done. He wants to punish them by using fear and by using a negative or the harsh rules. He wants to motivate the employees. And the second category of system of management is the benevolent or authoritative management. In this, the leader uses reward to encourage employees who increase the productivity. But ultimately, by rewarding them, we encourage, but the responsibility for decision making is of the management, and there is no group effort, there is no focus on the teamwork. The third category of management, he says, is the consultative, where the leader listens to his subordinates and incorporates the ideas. But the subordinates don't feel responsible. There is just a consultation. They ask them, but ultimately, again, the decisions are taken by the top management. They are being just giving their opinion. Fourth is the participative management. Here the leader engages the subordinates, helps ask them to solve the problems with the team, and everyone feels responsible for achieving the organizational goal. There is collective collaborative efforts of the employer and the employees together, and they help in achieving the organizational goal. Uh, Another category, another contribution in this has been the Robert uh, Tannenbaum, and he presented the continuum approach of leadership. So, according to Tannenbaum, he says that it is not possible for a single system of leadership to be applied in all the categories, and he has described not one or two or but seven systems of leadership. And the first category we see is the type where there is a single leader. Here he is using his authority to the maximum. In this, the first category of leader is where the use of authority is the maximum. The leader is the final authority in taking decisions, and he tells them to the manager, he tells them to the employees. He he is not consulting the subordinates. As we go up the continuum, we see that there is a shared leadership, where in second category, the leader decides and sells the benefit of decision. He tells them, he wants them to understand the reason of taking his decision. In the third, as we move up, the leader decides but presents thinking, inviting exploration. Then as we move up the quantum, the area of freedom for the subordinates is increased. There is shared leadership. The leadership is taking decision by involving the subordinates. He presents them the problem, he gets their suggestions, he gets their ideas, he asks them to be a part of the system and to be a part of the group and take decision. And the last in this category is where leader allows groups to define problem and take the decision. So Robert Tannenbaum has said that decision making has one type of single decision making cannot be applied in a situation. It depends on the situation, and likewise we take the decision. When we have studied all these behavioral sciences, the various behavioral sciences theories propounded by various management experts, it is seen that behavioral science approach focuses on human behavior, and it is one of the critical factors of the managerial success. And when we are talking about human behavior, we are talking about attitudes, we are talking about uh, uh, perception, we are talking about leadership, we are talking about motivation, and this they have made a significant contribution to the management. The field of management has learned or has gained tremendously by using the behavioral science. And on the basis of this behavioral science approach, a new subject of organizational behavior has developed, which is focusing totally on the organizational behavior, how employees are an important part in the development of the organization. But again, this approach has a limitation, overemphasis on behavioral aspect. It is ignoring the other aspects of motivation, other aspects which are affecting the production, which are affecting the productivity. Also, we cannot predict the human behavior to the perfection. It is 100% accuracy. We cannot predict the human behavior. So another limitation of the behavioral science. Also, it is not universally applicable. It is not been applicable in some kind of social or religious organization.